Hey there everyone, welcome back. You are watching the Vintage Sewing Machine Garage here on YouTube. And I'm making a video today to kind of help those of you who have been in a situation or are in a situation where you have something on your sewing machine that needs to be either inspected, and you should always inspect when you've gotten a machine for the first time, and you're trying to figure out what kind of shape it's in, what needs to be addressed. And one of the areas that should always be inspected, of course, is the bobbin winder mechanism. Now, bobbin winders are not new. They go way back, like very far back. It surprises people how long ago bobbin winding was something that a sewing machine could do. And when you get into different sewing machines, different brands, even different models within those brands, you have different designs. And the design basically determines how you access things. Now, this particular machine, again, I've mentioned in earlier videos, it's one of the heaviest I've ever come across. Its cast iron is extra thick. My gosh, I mean, over in here, where I'm putting my finger, that has to be, oh my goodness, 3/8, if not almost a half an inch thick in some of the walls. It is a fortress. However, that's all well and great, but we still need to access the bobbin winder. On this machine, when you lift up, you have access to the drivetrain in this midsection. However, and then of course, over here on the very end, we have a side door to get access to the needle bar and the presser bar. However, from that door to here, and then up here, it is solid, right? It is all one piece. You can't access, you can't take this section off. So you're like, okay, what's the problem? Well, the problem or the challenge here is that the bobbin winder is up top. Now we start to see this by the late 50s, even early 1960s. We start to see some of the bobbin winders moving up to the top of the machine instead of typically they were on the right hand front of the machine. You would see it if you were facing the machine. We're looking at it obviously from the side. And so when they started moving them up top, very often you can just simply take the whole lid off and underneath is the bobbin winder and you get access to it. Well, not so with this one. So I had to, again, start exploring, just as you might, because again, this is the first time I have worked on this specific sewing machine model. And so just like all of you, I'm thinking, okay, well, how do I access it? Well, fortunately, if you can't go in through the top or the front, maybe the side. So we're going to lower the camera here, and I'll show you what I mean. So we know, at least in the late 60s, they had not yet figured out how to make things, completely obsolete, right? Planned obsolescence was not yet a full-on thing. And so, of course, over here, and I may have shown this earlier when we were talking about the hand wheel and dealing with the motor belt, that there is a brace or a bracket right there. And if you look here, if I zoom in for you, you might be able to see a little bit better. And let's see what you should be able to see, if the camera will focus for you, is a tire, a bobbin winding tire. And you can see it if I you see it right there, okay? So I'm going to come up top with my thumb and finger and see if I can, and it turns, right? Well, I can see right there, I don't even have to take it out and twist and flex it to look for cracks. This bobbin tire is tired. It is dry rotted. It might kind of work now, but its days are numbered, and I don't want the new person who hopefully becomes the new owner of this machine, I don't want them to have that as a problem. They should expect, and rightly so, to be able to wind a bobbin on a machine that I've restored. So I need to get it out of there. Now, back in the days when machines like this were made in Japan, sometimes, maybe often, they would have bobbin winder tires, that were color coordinated with the machine. And sometimes if you get one of these machines and the bobbin tire is black, typically it has been replaced. However, that was for bobbin tires that were visible. You know, you would see them on the front of the machine. It was all about, you know, color coordinating, I suppose. But here, I think this is the original tire. I don't know it for sure, but I'm taking that guess because they didn't have to coordinate it because it wasn't visible. You know, it didn't really matter whether it was color coordinated or not, because typically the user of the machine didn't see it. So what do we got to do? We got to get access to the bracket, and in order to remove the bracket, we've got to get access to the bolts. There are 2 bolts here, not 1 but 2. So what do I need to do? I'm going to turn the shaft, and I only need to turn it just a bit to get access to those bolts. And we are going to see, hopefully it just comes right out. We'll find out very quickly whether it does or not. And let's see here if I get looking for a screwdriver tip that is a good match for these bolts. I think that might be too wide. You want to get as close as you can. And I am assuming that these have never been taken off since the machine. Oh, they weren't tight. Okay, since it left the factory, they don't have to be super tight. I'm surprised they were that loose though. All right, what am I doing? I am going to remove these bolts. However, this machine is temporarily in a table that it was not designed for. This table that it is sitting in, I've been using this table to do some testing and checking of the machine. However, I'm going to be putting this machine, by the way, came with no table or case, so I've got to find one. So I'm going to go ahead and take my bolts out, but because there's a big gap right underneath where these bolts are going to be coming out, I'm going to have I've got my trusty telescopic magnet, just in case. Now, there have been times when I've been able to just turn a bolt with the magnet. It's not doing that, but I just want to make sure. I may just have to hold my hand here. I just want to catch them, right? There are times when you should be able to assume that you're going to have falling bolts. Obviously, even someone like myself who has been working on machines for years, there's one of them, that doesn't mean, you all have heard enough objects to drop on the floor here at the garage to know that it's, it happens. So thus my point about having, and I really should have my terry cloth towel, but I forgot. All right, I'm going to just hold my finger on the bracket because now that the bolts are out, how does that bracket come out? Hopefully it comes out with a little bit of wiggling. So, oh, there we go. Well, it came out. It took a little effort, but it came out. It is designed to come out and go back in. Obviously, you just have to turn and twist a bit. Now, yeah, you can see all the dust. If you see the dust that's on top of there, dust obviously got down, through the opening and got onto the tire. So we got to get a new tire here. And while I'm at it, I'm going to go ahead and just inspect the mechanism itself. I might put a drop of oil in under, but usually they don't typically have issues unless they've been damaged. So, but first thing first. Oh, I see. Look at that. I even see. This always makes me happy when I see this. I see a little hole here that I believe was designed for, well, I think it was designed for oil, to put a drop of oil. I'm not sure why else we would have that little hole there, but we'll see. What we don't want is oil getting on our rubber tire. Okay, so any of you think that this is going to come off in one piece? I kind of doubt it. I think it's, well, we'll see. Well, and it comes off easily. Oh, wow. Look at that. Look at the crud. Oh, I tell you, that tire is 65 years old. It has done its duty, and we are, the tire owes us nothing, given how old I believe it is. But the reason I was hoping that this would come off in one piece, and why you don't want to immediately throw this away, is because you want to use it to size. Now, because I work on machines all the time, I keep a back stock of rubber tires in different sizes until I run out. And you might not. So if you need to keep this to measure, if you're going to order it online, or maybe you can go buy, if you're lucky enough to have a sewing dealer, we have one in my local area that they actually keep these. They've been great about keeping some parts available. So what am I going to do? I'm going to look in my little stash here, see if I can find a way to fit it. I'll show you my little, I think I've shown this before in a video some time ago where I keep extra parts. So all I'm going to do is take the, get the dust out of my face, I'm going to take the tire that I just took off and keeping it in one piece until I can verify that I have one in the same size range. Now, what am I looking at? I want to see what is the total diameter from edge to edge, but I also need to make sure that the center hole has a similar diameter. And I think I'm getting lucky here, I think. So this one looks, I don't know if it was originally rounded and it looks like it's a little flat. If these tires ever sit under spring pressure, they can develop bald spots. Don't really notice that. But anyway, this had to come off and I have a replacement. So, all right. I didn't know if I'd have to order one. I need some more of the smaller ones that you sometimes see on like Singer 301s. Okay, so, well, that was relatively painless. If you don't have one, like I said, you can order yours, get just a, maybe a small straight edge measure and measure it out. And you can get these online if you don't have a local supplier. These are available and they are very inexpensive. And I don't know what this has, some sort of code number, but it doesn't have any meaning to me. All right, so let's see, before I put that on, I'm going to take a look at our winder. So this is a new winder mechanism. It's not unusual for the winders to be like this when they're located in the top portion of the machine. They all kind of pop up like this. However, I'm just going to look underneath and make sure I don't have any kind of filth that's getting in there. And let's see which way. Okay, I wanted to see which way it moves because I'm looking at it upside down. So if this is looking from underneath, right, it goes like that, and then it goes like that. And I just want to make sure. One thing to check while you're here, go ahead and look, and you can get a flashlight if it's not easy to see. I don't see any here. You want to inspect for threads. Remember that bobbin winding is one of those functions of a sewing machine where you can, it doesn't take much to get a radical thread coming off. It'll get tangled and it'll want to wind because remember this piece is spinning. This is spinning as the bobbin's winding, and it's not unusual for thread to get caught here and cause all kinds of problems. And then you may think, oh, my bobbin winder's broke, and well, it could be. There's a good chance that a little piece of thread is causing it to misbehave, but I don't see any there. Now, this little hole, I cannot remember if I have seen this particular thing before. When I see the hole here, the first thing I'm thinking is maybe that is a way to lubricate this and with a drop or two of oil, and hopefully what that's going to do, remember this piece here that you see me turning, this and this, they are turning because they are installed on some sort of pin. And it would probably appreciate a little bit of oil. When I say a little, I mean a little bit. We're not gushing with oil here. We don't want to create a deluge of oil, right? A little goes a long way and a lot can cause problems, mainly because you don't want oil getting on the rubber tire. It degrades the rubber and it also can cause issues with friction. We want friction here with the tire. We don't want to lose friction. Whereas when you have metal parts moving against each other, you're trying to reduce that friction. Okay, first thing I want to do before I even go to add any oil, I'm going to get a cotton swab here. And I want to just take it and, I can't tell. Yeah, there's a little bit of dust here. Why don't I go ahead and get that off? This is a dry cotton swab. I I haven't even put it into any kind of alcohol. And I'm just doing this because, you know, if there's dust in here, and again, it's taken, what, a couple of generations for that to happen, I don't want it mixing with the oil because that creates kind of a sludge and it's not a good thing. So I'm going to take my lint brush and just kind of poking around. I don't really see much of anything, but sometimes you don't know. You can't see that closely into those nooks and crannies. So just take a brush like this, you know, just in case. Doesn't hurt anything, and it might reveal something that is in there that you don't want in there. All right. Okay, just take our sewing machine oil. I'm not used to seeing this little oiling hole, but since I have one, why not, right? And I'll show you, I've shown before when I have a small hole like this, an oiling hole on an electric motor, and again, they are only in specific places, like, this is a convenient place to show you. Remember, the motor on this machine has an oiling point. None of these other holes are for oil. Do not, I repeat, do not put any oil anywhere near your motor unless you know for sure where it goes. And I know for sure that that right there is an oiling. I've already oiled it, but that is an oiling spot to take one or a few drops if you're restoring a machine. If it's just regular maintenance, once a year, you can put one drop. Anyway, back to the bobbin winder. So we're gonna see if I can zoom in just a tad here for you. All right, I'm gonna do this. I'm trying as hard as I can. I'm gonna try to get some oil in there. Now, next thing I'm gonna do is start turning it, because a lot of times when you put oil into something that you're feeding oil into a location where it should be going, right? And the idea behind this is that as I turn this, the two pieces of metal that move against each other hopefully should pull some of that oil down into where it belongs. That's the whole point of this. This again does not, normally sometimes I have to actually drip oil in the get this in the camera there, mechanic, between the rim where the tire goes and the bracket right here. But that often ends up getting oil somewhere near the tire. So right now, because this has this clever little oiling hole, thank you to the engineers who put that there, I really should not need to put oil anywhere else. And maybe just one more drop, because again, it's been 60 years, and I really don't think this was ever serviced. All right, ended up getting a little bubble there. That's okay. So anyway, I'll just turn it a little bit more. Now, looks like the bubble grew. Okay, before I put my tire on though, I'm not done yet. I'm gonna come back with the cotton swab and I'm gonna come in here and mop. Now I know it doesn't look like a lot, but it does not take very much oil, sewing machine oil, to cause your bobbin tire to slip. It's rubber, it's designed to grip, you know, like tires on a nice clean street. So just like when you try to put your tires on ice, you know what happens. It's the same effect. So let's get all that off of there. We don't want any oil at all. And I'm not gonna put alcohol to clean the oil off. I'm really just making sure that any, you know, a very minuscule film is going to be fine on here. I'm not really worried about that, right? And this is where the oil, if there was any excess oil, it would have come right here on this sort of this rim, because it's lined up with the oiling hole. So I'm just gonna be still, like holding on to a puppy. I'm just gonna come around, just let it turn and dry that up. Now, I do need alcohol ever. Can you guys guess where I want to use alcohol? Definitely not on the tire. Alcohol, like oil, can cause rubber to break down, and that's not what we want. So, what this calls for is using 99% isopropyl alcohol. And again, I love using cotton swabs for many reasons, one of which is it typically will hold, unless you drown it, it will hold the alcohol still and not splash it anywhere. So there's one area that I want to make sure I use this alcohol to make sure it's absolutely clean of any oil or old rubber or anything. I don't really see much of anything on it, and that is the actual rim, right? This rim is where our bobbin tire is going to be installed. And if you have any kind of old oil or any kind of dirt, anything, you guys can see, look what came off of there. You might say, well, so what? It's just a little bit. What we're trying to avoid here is anything that would cause the rubber tire to slip, because that's not very helpful when you're trying to wind a bobbin and you can't get the you cannot get your tire to behave and do its job. Okay, so I've gotten down in the groove. Think of this where this is not a pulley, but it looks like one. It's basically the rim of where your bobbin tire is going to seat. Okay, so I've gotten all that off. And the great thing about 99% isopropyl alcohol is that it dries immediately. Okay, what's the next thing I'm going to do? Well, you need to wash your hands before you grab your new rubber tire, because there's a really good chance of handling this winder mechanism. I can feel a light film of oil. So you can go and you can wash your hands with soap and water. In my case, I'm taking this little piece of fabric here, and I'm just using the alcohol to get any oil residue off of my fingers, because I do not want that. I want my hands nice, squeaky clean, and dry to get ready for my hopefully successful installation of my tire. And so here's our new tire. I'm just going to simply hold with my left hand. I've just got by the bracket there, and I'm going to take the tire and just put it right straight down here. Remember, I've cleaned off most of this stuff, and voila, look at that. And it's spinning. It's happy. I wish all bobbin winders had the older ones from the older machines where it would mount on the front. Many of them do. Virtually every Singer bobbin winder has an oiling point for it, but I don't always see them on these vertical ones. So I'm really pleased to see that. And again, my hands are clean. Just check your tire. Make sure there's no chance for any residual oil at all. Okay. So, what's left now? Well, just need to get it reinstalled. And so I'm going to come here. Now I may have oil on this part of the machine, so I want to kind of try to stay clear of that. Whoops! Uh-oh. Just saw a little bit of oil get on my tire. That's not good. So I've got that piece of fabric with the alcohol, so I cleaned it off there. No big deal. And I'm just going to see. Oh, look at that. What was that? Oh, that was oh, look, even a little piece of thread, guys. Look at that. Look, it worked itself out. I don't know where that came from. All right, let's see. Well, if it came out, it goes back in. All right. Now what else? There we go. So I'm wiggling, trying to wiggle here, and I'm trying to get it in over the side. There we go. I have to get it over the side of this thick piece of iron, and then I need to turn it upright, but I can't. Well, that didn't work. And I was trying to hold on to it and not lose it, but I managed to drop it. So I can feel it in here. I know it's in here. All right. Let's see if I can move the camera. And again, once again, my trusty magnet came in handy. I was able to fish it out from over on this side. So again, when you're doing this, and you heard me say, hey, watch, you might drop it. It's possible, but it is also possible, if it can fall in there, it should be retrievable. Some machines have a very open floor. you know, things sometimes just fall right through. Well, this one doesn't. It's all sealed up. So I'm going to try it again. Not giving up. Again, I know I took it out. So, and it's obviously meant to come out. Not often, but the engineers did mean for this to be serviceable, obviously. So I tried going in this way, and when I did, I went all the way in, but then I couldn't get it upright because I didn't have room. So now I need to try to fish it in. But when I go in from the side, I need to keep this as vertical as I can. It's not a perfect, you know, and there we go. So now do you guys see what I did? I kept it more vertical instead of horizontal, and now I've gotten the vertical shaft that the bobbin is going to sit on. It then came back up. Let's raise the cam so you guys can see a little bit better what I'm speaking of. So here it is, right? It's still loose, but I put it in. I had to basically keep it at some upward vertical angle instead of going in sideways. So I did that, but I still got to get my bolts in. Now, what I will do, if I just in case, you might think, well, hey, you might have some oil on that tire. It's possible, but we'll deal with that. But first, we need to get our bolts back in. And I will, for the future, in another 60 years, when someone goes to replace this Bobbin tire, it might not take. I don't think the new rubber tires are as good. I know that sounds silly, but it's true in automotive parts. You know, the quality has been reduced, but this should last for quite some time. If you have to replace your Bobbin tire, you're not going to be replacing it every year. It's going to take many years. So I'm going to come in here. Now the next thing I don't want to do is drop this. I don't want it to fall. So I'm going to come here. I'm going to hold the weight of this mechanism. I want to hold with my left. I'm right-handed. So if you're left-handed, you may have to reverse this. But I'm holding with my left hand, just holding this in place. And I want to get this first bolt started. But I got to be real careful to be able to do that without dropping it. All right. And just because if I hold the bracket, that keeps it from pushing the bolt out of place and gives me hopefully room to get my fat fingers in here and get this thing going. Ooh, I just want to get it started. These bolts are not too bad. Now that bolt is started. I've got, at least I can, now I have two hands again, right? So now I'm going to come over here, and this time I haven't magnetized this yet, but I'm going to try getting this started like that. So I was pushing with the screwdriver, and I can kind of prop it up with my finger there. Again, you can put a terry cloth towel underneath, which will catch it if it drops down like it's going toward the floor. The towel doesn't really help if it gets down in here, and that means taking the machine out and turn it upside down, and that's not a fun time. All right, so this has a bracket, which is kind of interesting. They made it adjustable for height. Now, this piece here is kind of curious because this is designed, this is somewhat adjustable, and it has a Phillips head screw, which that's what tells me we're in the late 60s, because they start to use the Phillips heads. Most of these bolts and screws are straight heads, but this is adjustable. And of course this piece, and you'll see this when we go to do bobbin winding, this piece is what's going to push up against the bobbin and make it stop so that the bobbin doesn't overfill. And it'll be more obvious when we do the video on that. But for now, I think can always yeah, you know what, before I set this, I'm going to get a bobbin and try it. Now when I say get a bobbin and try it, we're not winding a bobbin yet, we're not ready for that, but I'm getting a bobbin. This is class 15, which the machine uses, and I'm going to put the bobbin onto, scoot you back. Now what I've done is I'm basically testing this. And what I want is for this piece here, this little finger, if you will, I want to center it on the bobbin so that the bobbin is centered with it. Because remember, it has to fit. If this little stop, this is the bump stop, if you will, that keeps the bobbin from overfilling. If it's way down here or way up here, it's going to interfere with the rotation of the bobbin and may not work for its intended purpose. So what am I doing? That's what I am going to attempt. And just to make sure that it is a little clearer, I shifted the angle for you guys so you could actually see what I'm referring to. Again, the bobbin gets installed here, but this piece should basically, I have to adjust the bobbin bracket because I want this little guide here is going to tell the bobbin, hey, stop filling or you'll overfill. But it needs to be centered on the most centered, the center of the bobbin, right? Because right now it's way up here and it's gonna scuff and scratch. So let's figure out where it wants to be. That looks to me about right. It's not hitting either of the rim, either top or bottom rim of the bobbin is free, and this piece here. Because you see, when the bobbin is finished, it should push away. Remember, it does shift. But right now, when it's pushed up against this, and it will be, I'm going to have to snug this. I want this to be clear of the rims of the bobbin. So you guys see what I'm referring to. I'll point here. So you can see this piece it starts here. Come here. There and to here. But I need it to be centered, otherwise it'll scrape the rim. So now that I think I have my bracket where I want it, now it's time to go back, and I'm just going to come over here from the side. I'm holding the bracket with my thumb so it doesn't slip on me, and I'm going to snug it down. And I think the bolts may have been a little loose because for 60 some years they were all right. So this is cool. It's rare that you see an adjustment for the height of the bobbin winder. How about that? We have lots of adjustments on the older front right mounted style bobbin winders. Okay, so what's left? Well, we have to go back and make sure we don't have oil on that tire. Okay, so we're back over on the side. The bracket has been snug. The winder should be happy. So now I'm going to take a dry, fresh cotton swab, and I am going to get my light to behave and cooperate. I'm going to come up here. I don't need my bobbin back on there again. Whoops. So what I'm trying to accomplish here is to have, now that I've got my bobbin winder piece out of the way, what I'm trying to accomplish is to take my dry, I'm determined for this flashlight, you will cooperate. Okay, my goal here is to take this dry cotton swab, and I'm just going to simply push it up against the tire, and just to make sure, if in case I have any in fact, let's get one of our larger fancy cotton swabs that I got recently. So I'm just going to push this flat one, should cover any of those surfaces, and I'm just turning to the right, so I'm holding this cotton swab, or I guess it's like a cosmetic swab, up against it, right? I'm just getting it's a brand new tire, and so it's getting a little residue off there. There's nothing wrong with the actual rubber at all. And there's really not much here. I just wanted to make sure that any oil that might have gotten on there has been removed. Now, if you're concerned you have more oil and that the dry swab is not enough, you don't want to put 99% isopropyl on this. That's too harsh for the rubber tire. You can take a little dishwashing liquid and water, a very small amount, and you can use the cotton swab on that, and that will remove the any oil residue you may have gotten on the tire, and then you can go back with a fresh swab with just water, and you'll be fine. So there we go. That is how you change a bobbin winder on a Simpson's sewing machine from the late 1960s. If you ever have a bobbin winder that is set up like this, again, there is a way to do it. You just have to start poking around and seeing, hey, how does this thing work? I have never had one like this ever. I've seen, obviously, top-mounted bobbin winders. They're usually, easier to access. You just take the lid off, but every industrial designer and engineer had a different idea, and this was theirs, and there's nothing wrong with it. I'm looking forward to testing the bobbin winder, and we'll see how it works out, and then we'll also see about any adjustments. This piece, the one that I've been referring to, let's see if we can get our cam to cooperate here. This piece is amazing, amazingly flexible. It's designed to be adjusted. There's a bolt here, and there's it will slide back and forth, and then I'll snug the bolt down when I feel I have the right distance from this to the bobbin to make sure that the bobbin doesn't overfill. And we'll look at this more closely when we make our bobbin winding video, which should be coming up pretty soon. Thank you all for watching this channel and watching me learn as I hopefully am teaching and instructing about how to approach vintage sewing machines that are, like many vintage consumer products that have survived this long, they're not broken. They just haven't received the maintenance and the love that they were designed to have. Fortunately, they typically are fairly forgiving most of the time, and they wake up and they're ready to work once again. We just have to give them the very thing that the engineers planned on them having, and I don't even know if the engineers ever imagined that their creations would last this long. So thank you all again for watching. If you have not, please subscribe to the channel. You may also donate at Buy Me a Coffee, and I will see you in the next video.